welcome back to Cheryl K's Cooking Diaries. This evening we're going to make something a little different. I'm usually showing y'all some kind of recipe of our dinner, but this evening we are going to make a homemade red velvet cake from scratch. I love red velvet, and I'm sure a lot of you like it too. You just can't beat a good red velvet cake. So give me just a minute and I'm going to show you how I make mine. Okay guys, here we go. Alright, first of all, you are going to need your oven preheated to 350 degrees for this. And you are going to need 2.5 cups of white lily flour. If you don't have white lily flour, just use what you like. Right, then you're going to need 3 tablespoons of cocoa. I use the Hershey's, but you can use whatever kind that you like. You're going to need 1.5 sticks of room temperature butter. You are going to need 1 3/4 cups of white granulated sugar. You are going to need 2 eggs. These also need to be room temperature. Then you are going to need 1 tablespoon of white vinegar. I've got it right here. And by the way, guys, if you don't have white vinegar, you can also use apple cider vinegar. You don't taste the vinegar in the cake, so that doesn't really matter. But I always prefer the white vinegar, but you can use the apple cider. And then you are going to need... Guys, I made a mistake here. You are going to need 3/4 cups of canola oil. You're going to need 1 fluid ounce of the red food color. And you're going to need 1.5 cups of room temperature buttermilk. You're going to need some cooking spray. You're going to need 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now y'all, I always use a little more vanilla in my cakes and recipes like that. I just think it makes it taste better, so I'll be using a little bit more of this. You don't have to use more if you don't want more. You could actually just use 1 teaspoon if that's what you prefer. I'm going to use a Bundt pan to make this cake in. I just think they're so pretty in a Bundt pan. You can just see the appearance of the whole cake in a Bundt pan when you flip it out. So I'm going to be making it in this, and then we are going to spray this with cooking spray, and we're going to lightly dust this with flour. I like to dust my cake pan, especially a Bundt pan. You really want to dust it with flour. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, but just dust it enough, okay? For the icing on this red velvet. Tonight, I'm just going to use the Duncan Hines whipped white icing for this. But now, if you want to make the cream cheese icing, what you're going to need for that, 3/4 cup of butter, but it's got to be room temperature. And then you are going to need 12 ounces of cream cheese, room temperature. And then you're going to need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then you will need, just say, 1 bag of the powdered sugar. So anyway, give me just a minute, guys, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, here we go. All right, let me get a little dish here because I want to put some for a little bowl, little bitty container. What I'm going to do is, first of all, we are going to get our Bundt pan ready. So if you want to use a sheet pan or a 9-inch cake pan, you can do so. But in the Bundt pans, I flour. You don't necessarily have to do this in a cake pan if you don't want to. But in the Bundt pans, I always do dust my Bundt pans. Okay? So let's do that first. And I'm going to take this little container here. I'm going to dip me a little flour. We can flour our Bundt pan. But first, we're going to take some cooking spray. Now, we're going to spray this down pretty good, guys. Okay? Let me kind of get out of y'all's light. Get this thing too, because it does like to stick to that sometimes. Alright, I think that's good enough. Now, as you all know, I usually take a paper towel or so, and I lightly just kind of rub this stuff down in here to make sure that things get even. Alright, now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and dust this. I'm going to move my trash can over here real quick, guys. But how I like to do this, now I found this to be an easier way for me, but you don't have to do this. What I do, I take my sifter and I just drop me some flour down in there, right? And I just go over my pan, my Bundt pan like this, okay? All right, we got all our flour out there. We sifted it out. Okay. And then I just kind of roll it around a little bit in my Bundt pan. Kind of tap it to kind of break it up a little bit because sometimes it wants to get stuck to the canola. And just keep rolling it. Okay, if y'all can see that rolling until you get all these sides need to be dusted. Get it on your counter, oh well, we can wipe that off, right? Alright, now I'll take this and dump it to my trash can. I kind of hit mine a little bit, or I tap it a little bit just to get that excess flour out. And then sometimes if there's some a little bit too thick in spots, because I don't want a bunch of flour on the top of my red velvet cake, I'll just go around the Bundt pan like this. And then I tap it again, okay, until I'm satisfied with the amount of flour that's in it. And that will work right there. See, guys, that was pretty easy, I think. I just like using my sifter. I think it makes it easy, especially when you're using a Bundt pan. You need to get around the sides, and you can just roll it around. So our Bundt pan is ready to go for the cake, okay? All right, I got the mixer, but first of all, you're going to need a separate bowl, okay? So what I'm going to do, I am going to sift my flour just in case there's some lumps or anything in it. And I just think sifted flour just makes a better cake. I'm going to get 2½ cups of the white lily flour. There's 1 cup. We're going to put this in the bowl. Okay. All right, here goes the 2nd cup in this. Now we're going to get a 1/2 cup. All righty. So we've got our 1/2 cup in there now too. Okay. So let's get our 2 tablespoons of our cocoa. Or I'm sorry, 3 tablespoons. Lordy, lordy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sift this cocoa and this flour together. It's always good to do that with cocoa, because cocoa sometimes is clumpy. All right, I'm going to level that off. All right. There's 1. There's 3. So let's just get that leveled off good. There's our 3 tablespoons of our cocoa. Let's take our flour and our cocoa, and we're going to whisk that in together. So you want to get this whisked in very well. Okay. Alright, let me do it this way. Maybe I'll be out your guys' way. But I think what I'm going to need to do is get me a little spatula, kind of toss it a little bit, to make sure that this gets blended in better than that. Because I don't think a whisk does that great a job when you're mixing your cocoa and your flour together. I probably should have put it in a bigger bowl, and it might have done better, y'all. Okay. So let's take this spatula, just kind of fold in all that flour on the bottom. See what I mean? Because there's flour on the bottom. That whisk just ain't picking it up enough. So let's just kind of fold all this flour and this cocoa in very gently. Because if I don't do this very gently, y'all, I will have it all over my kitchen. Okay. Here we go. I think we've about got it, guys. But I am going to give it a whisk a few times there. And spatula really does just as good a job as a whisk, if not better. Because you want to really get your self-rising flour and your cocoa blended in good. Okay, now that we've got that whisked in pretty good, so let's sift this flour right quick. And let, okay, I got my fan off. So we're just going to do a little at a time. So I'm just going to use my half a measuring cup to do this with. Now, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. This is just something I do. Okay? So let's go ahead and take half a cup at a time. Let's pour it down in our sifter. We're just going to sift that down in there. So we get this cocoa powder and this flour sifted in good. Okay. Let's do some more. I just like to do it now. Not have to stop and wait when I get ready to do my wet ingredients. So this is done. Okay. Let me get all that off the sides in there, guys. You have to kind of hit it sometimes to see what's left in there. I did pretty good. Here's a few little place pieces, but I'm just going to take my finger and kind of mash them down in there. And then let me get a little bit more out of my bowl. Okay. I'm thinking I might be able to just do it this way and pour what I want in here. Okay, there we go. Well, not a lot left that time, but I'm going to mash them on through. And we'll do the last bit here. Okay, here we go. And looks like we got it all, y'all, so we're done with our sifter. So now we have our flour and our cocoa all sifted in together. And see how kind of fluffy and light that makes that? I mean, it's amazing what sifting flour can do. I think it is. So, alright, since we got our flour and cocoa done and it's sifted, I'm going to get the mixer here and we're going to start adding our wet ingredients to it, okay? So, just a second, guys, and let me get my mixer over here. Yes, here we go. Alrighty, so we're ready to add our wet ingredients. So 1.5 sticks of room temperature butter. Okay, I'm sorry I have all my ingredients behind over here, but I've only got so much room here, guys. So, but when I can put something away, I will. So there's 1/2 stick, and then here's a whole stick. Boy, these cakes are so good, guys. I'm telling you, if you've never tried red velvet, you should, because they are super good. Okay, and you can't taste the vinegar, trust me. Alright, let me wipe my hands there. Dry them off. Alright. Next, we are going to add our sugar. And we're going to mix this well before we start adding anything else. So, we need 1 3/4 cups of sugar. There's 1. 1/4. 2, 3. Cream this together, and what you're going to want to use to mix this is your flex beater if you have one. If you don't have one, you could just use the paddle. Okay. Some people use the whisk. I don't. I just use this. I only use my whisk for eggs. You know, if I'm making scrambled eggs or certain things that need air, I will. But this does a really good job. All right, we're going to mix this together well, guys, okay? And then we're going to scrape our bowl. So give me just a second here, okay? Because I may be silent for a minute. All right. Lift this up because we need to get that off of there. I go around this and make sure that this is creamed together good enough, okay? And I'm thinking it is because it looks really good together, so I don't think we need to do any more creaming for that. So I'm going to lower this back down in, okay? We're going to lock that in place. We're going to start the mixer. And we're just going to do this on the stir speed. We'll add our eggs one at a time. Alright, now we're not need. And here's 2. Okay. Let that mix a second. So now, what we are going to add next, after the eggs, we're going to add our vinegar, and we're going to add our oil. So let's do 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, okay? Alright, there's our vinegar. And now we are going to add our oil. And this is 3/4 of a cup of canola oil, guys. And we're going to add this slow. A little bit at a time. I'm trying to get the last part in there because it'll run down my bowl on me if I don't. Probably should have got 6 minutes. We are going to add some red food coloring. We're not going to add our vanilla yet, if any of y'all was wondering. That's not going to go in yet, okay? It's the McCormick red food coloring. I'm going to shake that up really good, guys. But first, I am going to scrape the sides of my bowl just to ensure that all of this got mixed in well. It's kind of really up to you when you want to scrape it, but now after this food coloring, y'all, you have to do this a couple times. So I just want to make sure all that's gotten blended, and it's looking pretty good. So I think we're all right. So let's squeeze this whole bottle into this. And it's your preference on how much food coloring you want, but we're going to let that mix. I'm going to turn this up, try to turn this up just a little. Okay, and we're going to get our buttermilk. All right. So our buttermilk is 1.5 cups of buttermilk. You want to shake this very, very well, y'all. But before we add this, though, I about forgot. We're going to have to scrape the sides of the bowl. Once again, this is just something you just have to do. Pretty color. Let me get this all scraped off the sides of the bowl. Some of that food coloring can get on the sides there. So you want to make sure you get all this mixed in. Then we get our buttermilk in here and we get that mixed in good. Then we are going to have to do the same thing. Let's put this back down in here and finish mixing this together. And let's go ahead and get our buttermilk. Need 1.5 cups, okay? We'll do that now. This has just got a little bit of the sugar left in it, guys. It's not going to hurt anything. Now, this comes the time where we just might need our splash shield. Yeah, we're going to need it, guys. I was hoping we wouldn't, but we are. So let me get that right quick. I was hoping we wouldn't need it so y'all could see this a little better. But so let's go ahead and finish adding our 1 cup of buttermilk. I like to add mine slow. All right. Pump this up just a little. You want to make sure this is all mixed in very well. That food coloring does need to be blended in with your mix here. When you put these on, guys, this is something I just learned. Don't leave it open on this side. You want the two back pieces of this to be right in the back of your mixer back here, just in the back, both of those. And you should only have an opening in the very back of the mixer. That's what I've discovered anyway. But I know everybody does things a little different, so. But that's how I keep mine from splashing. Every now and then some things just come out and you just can't, you know, something you can't help. Okay, let's go ahead and stop the mixer. Alright, let's take this splash shield off for a minute because we're going to need this again when we do the flour. Okay, we're going to lift this up and let's go ahead and let's stir this, which I should have gotten it off of my flex beater, but it's going to go back down in there, so it's not really going to matter on that. Sometimes I get used to doing that. And I think, well, I'm going to be putting it back down in there, so what's it really matter, right? So now we're going to add all of our flour, but we're only going to do this little bits at a time. So I'm going to use my 1/3 of a cup to put my flour in. Okay, but we're going to get this rolling. These cakes, guys, are not hard to do. Really, they're not. So I'm going to do that. Let's get our cocoa and our flour mixture. Let me move it. Just doing this a little at a time. You don't want to do this a bunch at a time. So I just start putting not even a 1/3 cup in at a time. Push that down off of my splash shield too. Oops. Just a slow process. And we will have to bump our mixer up here in just a few. I gotta keep. Okay. Alright, here's a little more. The end of this, so what I'm going to in here, and then I'm going to scrape that off of the shield here, and we're going to turn the mixer up. So I'm going to hold on to the shield while I do this, get that flour off of there. See, let's mix her up. We got to get this mix stirred in good, guys. So give that just a minute, and then we're going to add our vanilla. 2 teaspoons of the vanilla, and I'm just going to squirt what's in here out. And a little extra in here. Y'all don't have to do this, but I'm going to. There we go. That's all I'm going to add. Okay, guys, let this mix for just a second. We're going to get our Bundt pan and pour this in our Bundt pan and get this in the oven so we can get this baked. Scrape the sides of this. Boy, don't that look good. Man, look. And then we're going to let it finish mixing this up when I get off the sides. And then we're going to pour it in there. And I think that looks really good. It's smooth. I don't see anything that really needs much more time. Because I don't want to. Guys, I'm going to let this fix. get this off of our attachment so we can get this bowl off of here and get this poured into our Bundt pan. Let's take this bowl off of the mixer, okay? Off the sides, once again, that we did 500 times throughout this cake making. And let's stir the rest of that little flour in that was on the attachment that I knocked off there. And I want to be sure that everything is mixed in here. Okay. Yep, everything's good. We are good. Okay, guys. This where y'all can see. So, now here's what you want. Okay? We'll show you here. See how smooth this is? That is what you want right there, guys. Just really smooth. Okay, I don't know why. Let's get our Bundt pan. Pour this slowly in here. Okay, so just pour it in here. Just pour it all around your Bundt pan. And try to avoid to get it on the, you know, the very top sides or the center piece. But it's hard sometimes. Even I do it. Okay. Oh boy, oh boy. Falling out like a little... Will you talk about delicious? My goodness. Alright. We want our... Now let's kind of wipe the edges off here so that don't burn on the Bundt pan while we're baking it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick this in the oven. I'm going to keep an eye on it, and then I'll let you know how long it took for mine to bake. So I'm going to go ahead and put this. Okay. Alright guys, I'll be back here shortly. Let's go ahead and do the icing for this red velvet cake we made. But now what I had to do is after it come out of the oven and it cooled completely into one of my trays, and a little piece kind of broke off of it where I guess it wasn't floured enough in that area. I've never had that happen to any of my cakes that way, but sometimes it just does, and there's nothing you can do about it. So what I had to do is I had to wrap it in saran wrap, and I just wrapped it on the tray because I didn't want to pick it up, mess it up at that point, because they're so tender when you get them out of the oven like that, even if they do cool. So what I do is I wrapped it up in the tray with Reynolds saran, and then I let that sit in the refrigerator overnight, just to, you know, really chill good. So what I'm going to try to do before we icing this cake, I'm going to try to flip it back over to the other side because it does look a little better, and maybe we can just icing that side. I don't know. We'll just have to see. I mean, it is what it is, really, and things like that do happen. So I just thought I'd let y'all know that. So let's go ahead and get this started and get this red velvet cake iced, because I sure do want a piece. So give me just a minute. Oh, all right. I have it in a tray here, okay, that I use this for different things. I can't remember what come on this cookies or something, but anyway, I've got this tray here, like I said, I covered it in saran, and I did that really good. So I don't know if you can see where the piece had come off or not, but it's beautiful. I mean, beautiful cake. But let's go ahead and get this unwrapped. It's going to be a chore, looks like, because I've really wrapped this really good. So at least if you can let your cake sit in the refrigerator like that, you're better off to do that, really, because it does help them a lot, especially when you go to icing the cake. it does help your cake a whole lot. So I usually do the cream cheese icing on my cakes like this and the carrot cakes and stuff, but I guess I kind of got lazy and decided to we're going to use the can icing. So, and it's really, guys, it's just good, I think, but sometimes I just rather do it that way. It can be a little easier. Let me find the box. You have to be gentle with it, guys, and try to ice it the best we can. It's still going to be good. But see, guys, where it's stuck kind of bad right in here. Like I said, sometimes that happens, and there's just nothing that you can do about that. But everything else just looks so pretty on there, right? So let's do this. I'm trying to put me a new piece of parchment down before we ice this, because we need a good size long tray like this. My hands are clean, by the way. Okay. And transfer it over to a plate very, very, very carefully. Do it like this and just lay the plate on there, okay? Maybe we can get this flipped like this. Just hold on to it the best you can if you ever have to do this, y'all. So just flip it over like that. Give me just let me raise this up as easy as I can, the tray anyway right now, because parchment's going to stick to it. I grease this little pan I've got here too, so probably gonna stick. Yeah, you know, it kind of, the saran, I kind of wrap the saran a little bit too tight. So when you go to wrap your cakes, guys, don't wrap it that tight, because it will kind of push them down. Just like it did this one. So I think this is going to be better, and we're going to be able, it looks kind of funny because it's kind of smashed, but it's all right, it's still pretty. Parchment out. It's a new parchment. So, let's see, guys, ain't that pretty? It really turned out good, except for that bottom side, and really you're supposed to ice the other side, but we're not going to. We're going to be different. We're going to do this side. But you know why. So, I think I still got enough oil in here, too, for this piece of parchment. I tried to cut it the best I could, but I probably should have did a better job than that, but I didn't. So, we're going to put this parchment in here, and we're going to kind of push it down. Because it does still have that oil in there, somewhat. Oh, I'm afraid the cake's going to try to slide around on us. We don't want that to happen. So, spray your pan or whatever you're using to ice on. And the thing of it is, guys, you know, if you got a cake thing, one of those cake turntables or whatever they're called, use it, you know. Just go ahead and use that. If you don't have one, use what you got. And that's exactly what I'm going to do, y'all. Because I put cookies and fudge and everything else on this little tray. So, sometimes that's what we got to do, right? And we don't have things like that. But that's not a big deal to me, because I'm going to try to get one eventually. But I don't make cakes that much. But, you know, I'd still like to have one. It'd be nice to have one. Okay, there we go. I think that's going to be better. Maybe it won't slide around so much that way with a little bit of oil in the pan and the parchment over top of it, because parchment is pretty good about sticking to metal. So, now, we'll have to be very careful transferring this over, because I do not want this to crack on me, y'all. So, just pray right now. Okie doke. We've got it on our tray, and that's right where we want it. And if there's any little cracks there, we can maybe push them together a little bit or hide it with a little bit of icing. Okay. All right. I'm using, y'all. This is Duncan Hines whipped fluffy white icing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take me a pot. Okay. Part of this icing. Okay. And I'm going to put down inside of my little pot here. I'm going to heat this on the stove. But we're going to heat this very, very slowly. We are not going to heat this fast, because we don't want to burn our icing or basically scorch our icing, okay? So we're going to do that in just a minute. All right, I got my pot over here on my little burner, and I'm going to get this lid off of this icing. It's pretty soft. Cut paper towels, y'all. That way, while I'm doing this, I can have something to lay my spatula on because it might get a little messy. Okay, out. I think I'll do, let's see. Well, that's already soft, guys. Man. Yeah, that's going to be, okay. Let's pour it over a cake. Like I said, guys, we're going to do this very, very slow. So this is going to take us just a minute to heat. And, because you want to do this as slow as you can, because like I said, it will scorch if you don't. So as soon as this, give that just a minute, y'all, and it'll melt here in just a minute, and it'll get even creamier than what it already is. But make sure you stir your icing, which it's not, barely even got mine on number 3, barely. And it's already getting thin, real thin. I just rather do my icing like this on the stove because I have a little more control with it this way than in the microwave. Remember, you just don't want to turn that heat up because you will scorch your icing. Okay, we're just gonna have fun with this, y'all. Let's see where we're getting here. Okay. Oh yeah, it's getting good, y'all. See here? It's about where we need it. Just about. But just keep stirring that in. I need to get a little spatula though. That's better. Look at there. See how thin that's getting, guys? That's what we're about where we need it. So I'm gonna have to slide this off and slide you guys back over here. Wow. Oh yeah. That's gonna be great. Now, like I said, we're just gonna drizzle this. I'm not gonna do this in a certain way. I'm just gonna drizzle this on this cake. I'm gonna turn my burner off now. I'm going to move this over. I'm going to move this off the burner. And I'm going to move you guys over. So give me 1 minute. I'm going to stir this icing. I'm going to kind of scrape it off the bottom of the bowl. Or the pot, I mean. We'll bring this cake over where y'all can see this. Okay. It doesn't see the consistency of the icing that I've got it. You know what? I don't know. I may just pour it straight out of the pot. It's looking like that might be the best way to do this. And it's going to get, guys, I'm going to do this slowly. And we're just going to start wherever. Just drizzle this on. I'm trying to do this in the cracks. Okay. Now this is going to run down the sides. That's what we want. So just go all the way around your edges. Okay. All the way around, back around. Kind of drizzle down so it can run down in the middle. But I'm going to have to, okay. I'm just going to run around it. To me, I found this is the easiest way to do this. You just have to be so gentle when you do this.
Hey guys, I accidentally deleted the ending to the red velvet cake, but it was so delicious. So anyway, if you don't mind to go to Cheryl K's Cooking Diaries and like, share, and follow, I would greatly appreciate it. If you don't mind to go over to my YouTube channel and like and subscribe, I would appreciate that as well. So listen guys, I hope you all stay safe and always remember to keep God in your heart and God in your